Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. This copy is from Berkeley Books. Look at the size of this doorstop. I got it used, obviously. I shouldn't say obviously, but if you know me, I try to keep my books in pristine condition. Just because I like to look at them. I love having them on the shelves. I love looking at the spines and the covers. So I try to get, if I've got a new book, it's going to look new when I'm done reading it. But sometimes you got to buy a copy that's a little beat up. What are you going to do? But anyway, The Talisman, Stephen King, Peter Straub. First of all, I'm going to read you the back cover copy because it doesn't tell you a thing. Not really. It just says, "You are about to take a journey, a terrifying trip across a nightmare America filled with monsters beyond anything you've ever imagined before. A journey into the dark heart of horror. Two of the world's best-selling authors team up in the ultimate masterpiece of spine-tingling terror. The most compelling, most talked about, most frightening book of the decade." That doesn't tell you anything about the plot. So, basically, we've got this 12-year-old boy named Jack Sawyer. His mother is a B-movie queen who seems to be on the run and has run from the West Coast to the East Coast. And Jack realizes that she is very sick, and it comes to his attention that he has some abilities that he may be able to use to save her life, but he has to travel back across the country to the West Coast by himself, essentially. And I'm gonna try not to give away too much, although not sure there's going to be too many people watching this who haven't already read it. If you haven't read it yet, I'll try not to spoil too much, but it is a nightmare journey across America and other places. And, Jack's going to try and save his mom. So, right off the bat, a little caveat. I have not read a lot of Peter Straub. Just 2 or 3 of his novels. And what I have read was decades ago. So I can't personally see his contributions to the book. I don't know what the collaborative effort was like between King and Straub. I don't know who did what. But all I was seeing was the Stephen King of the book. So, I'll tell you up front. I gave this 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, but I was rounding up. At best, I would go 4 3/4. 4 3/4 stars. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's the best Stephen King I've ever read. I really, really enjoyed it, but it does have a number of the Stephen King isms that I find annoying. But, so this is essentially a very long, frightening road trip book. When Jack eventually gets on the road, we're following him. Ooh, I don't want to talk. I'm trying to avoid saying a big part of what's going on, just in case there's anyone who hasn't read this who's watching this. But Jack is traveling. We're following him in his travels. We're following him from place to place, town to town, meeting people, helpful people, horrible people. His Uncle Morgan, who's not really his uncle, it's his father is dead. And Uncle Morgan was his father's friend and business partner. And I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say basically he's the bad guy. So we meet a lot of interesting characters along the way. There are some very terrifying things that happen. There's some quite a few emotional things that happen. I found the story compelling. It did take me quite a while to read it, but one, that's because it's 770 pages. Two, because I've been working 50 hours a week. Three, I had a whole weekend off where I just played games with my nephew and niece-in-law. Did no reading whatsoever. So it took me some time to read it, but I still, when I had the chance, I would pick it up and read it. If I was watching something on TV during commercials, I'd read what I could. Very, very compelling story. I wanted to see what happened on Jack's journey. I wanted to follow along. Jack, fairly interesting character for a 12-year-old. I think it's some of the other characters he meets along the way that are more interesting for good and for bad. There are some very bad characters that we meet along the way. There are some good characters. One of them in particular I absolutely loved. Just up there, one of my favorite Stephen King characters at this point, I believe. Although it does kind of lead me to the bad parts, the things that don't make it, that keep it from being a 5. So I felt that there are too many of Stephen King's tropes. Just the kinds of things that he does over and over and over again. And one of them, well, I don't know that this is a trope, but there is a character in this book that I found to be essentially-ish very much like a character in The Stand. Personality-wise, there is at least one very huge difference, but where the character fit in to the story, it just felt like this other character from The Stand. That Stephen King repetitiveness drives me crazy. It maybe it's something that other people like, but when you have characters saying and or thinking the same thing over and over and over for hundreds of pages, or within hundreds of pages, it's not every page for hundreds of pages, but it gets on my nerves. And I don't need to be told 6 times in 6 pages that the weather vanes look weird and turn on their own independent of the wind. Again, maybe some people like that. Maybe that's why they like Stephen King. It's not something that I like. It's one of the... There aren't a lot of things that Stephen King does that annoy me, but his repetitiveness is definitely one of those things. Now, I'm not a Stephen King expert. I've probably read less than half of what he's put out, so take all of this with a grain of salt. I did feel that the bad guys in here seemed very much like the bad guys in other Stephen King books. There just seems to be a singular voice that a lot of his bad guys have. Their motivations may be different depending on the story, but I don't know. I felt that Morgan and another character just sound, and the other character, very repetitive, but they just sounded to me like that a cookie cutter cutout of a Stephen King villain. I could be wrong. Maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong down in the comments below. So, as compelling as I found the story, as interesting as I found so many of the characters, and it is 770 pages. Some of it felt a little bit like filler, but then maybe the halfway point, a little further than the halfway point, the 2/3. I didn't keep track of exactly where things were happening, what page. But it really kind of takes off, and the really horrifying and emotional stuff starts to happen at a certain point. And I really enjoyed that. Especially dealing with this particular character that was my favorite character in the book. Most of the story is from Jack's POV. Occasionally we get these Morgan interludes. I think there's 6. They are numbered. 6 or 7 interludes with Morgan. But mainly we're just following Jack. And I know that there's a sequel. I will definitely be reading that. Maybe I'll read some Peter Straub before I read the sequel, and see if I can pick up on his style, see what his contributions are. And I'm not saying in any way that he did not contribute. I've literally heard people say that Stephen King and Peter Straub were the same person, and he was writing Stephen King books, Peter Straub books, and then just decided to put his two personalities together, essentially, for this book. But yeah, maybe I'll read some Peter Straub. I have some, and see if I can pick out his voice when I read the second book, which is The Black House, something like that. So yeah, as I said, I gave it 5 out of 5, but that is absolutely rounding up from 4.75. I highly recommend it if you're a Stephen King fan. Perhaps if you're a Peter Straub fan, I don't know. If you're just a horror fan. I was just in the mood to read a big honkin' book. And it was basically between Stephen King and Clive Barker. And I just decided to go with this one. It was basically a coin toss. Not literally, but mentally. And it was worth my time. It just has it has those Stephen King things that annoy me in abundance, and he had 770 pages to fill up with that stuff. And there is some that typical older Stephen King, I guess it's younger Stephen King, older Stephen King books. There is, I think, some problematic material, stuff that I don't think he does today, but back in the day there were just certain things that don't fly under the radar as they did back then, I suppose. I don't know. But anyway, 5 out of 5. The Talisman, Stephen King, Peter Straub. If you're in the mood for 770 pages of craziness, pick it up. Give it a try. Of course, I want to know, as I said, I assume most people watching this have read the book, so let me know what you think of it down below. You can tell me where I'm wrong, or maybe you'll agree with some of the things I had to say. Now, I have a question for this video, and I had this question, unlike a lot of my videos, where if you're a regular viewer, you know sometimes I come up with the questions on the spot. Sometimes I can't even be bothered to come up with a question. But I will say that I had the question for this video within 30 pages, probably. Very, very early on, I knew what I was going to talk about at the end of this, what question I was going to have for you. So, what I want to talk about, what I want your opinion on, is something, now I'm going to use the more well-known term for this. But I want to talk about the magical Negro trope. So in this book, it's Speedy Parker. So this trope, in case you're not familiar with it, is the black character who comes in. Often they have some sort of supernatural powers, but they come in and they're simply there to help the white protagonist achieve their goals or their destiny or whatever it is. I looked this up on Wikipedia, and I saw that somebody was trying to change the name of this trope, and they wanted to call it the magical African American friend. Was it what they thought the trope should be called? That was the first I'd heard of that. I've only ever heard it called the magical Negro trope. That's what Spike Lee has called it. I don't remember who came up with it, but obviously that's what they called it. It's the name that I've heard for it. You can let me know what you think of the name down in the comments below. But excuse me. So this is a trope. It's in books. It's in movies. Probably one of the most mentioned movies when people are talking about this is the movie Bagger Vance with Will Smith, and I believe it's Matt Damon. I've never seen it. It's a golf movie, and Will Smith is the magical Negro. I believe he's just a caddy who's getting Matt Damon back on his game. Now, it's something that Stephen King has used at least 4 times off the top of my head. As I said, we have Speedy Parker in The Talisman. We have the old woman in The Stand. I don't remember her name. I feel that it was like Mother Abigail. We have the guy played by Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile. I have not read the whole thing. I just bought the 6 books that make up the serial, the original printings, so I have the serialized version of it. So I will be reading it relatively soon. I want to say it's like John Coffey. But anyway, the Michael Clark Duncan character in The Green Mile. And, oh man, I had it, and then it was gone. The Scatman Crothers character in The Shining. Doc. No, that's what he calls the kid. Man. Alright, obviously I've been recording far too long, which is why I'm going to take a drink, because my throat's getting a little dry, and hopefully I'm going to think of the character's name. Nope, that didn't help. It's just one of those things. But you know who I'm talking about. It's going to bug me. But as I said, the Scatman Crothers character from The Shining. And in the Wikipedia thing that I was looking at, it says these characters tend to be janitors, handymen, sort of jack-of-all-trades kind of characters. And in maintenance men, in The Talisman, Speedy is the caretaker of this amusement park. He's fixing the rides and doing all that sort of thing. And of course, in The Shining, I was hoping it would just pop into my head. He's the caretaker, or was he just the cook? I don't know, but it's that kind of job. But that's what he is. In The Stand, I don't think we really know what she is, because she's basically retirement age. Doesn't have a job. Sits on her porch in her cottage, surrounded by corn. And in The Green Mile, he's a prisoner. I don't know what, if they even tell you what he did before he was a prisoner. And in the Wikipedia, there was a list of books, a list of movies. I didn't agree with everything that was listed. And of course, Wikipedia, people can just add things on their own. But there were some movies that were listed that I've seen, and I was just like, well, no. Yes, the main character in this movie is a white person. Their friend / partner is a black person. But they're like equals in the... Like, someone had, I swear, one of the Lethal Weapon movies, possibly the first one, was on that list. And, yeah, Danny Glover does not, in that movie anyway, does not fall into this trope. So, of course, Wikipedia, take it or leave it. But anyway, and I'm still, if that name comes to me, I'll be shouting out in the middle of whatever I'm saying. But basically, my question is, what do you think about this trope? Is it played out? Was it played out when it first was used? Is it something you noticed? Do you not notice it? Just give me your general thoughts. Have you even heard of it before? Let me know what you think about it. And damn it, I cannot... Halloran! Haha, Dick Halloran. Right? I hope there's not an O. He's not Irish. It's not O'Halloran. Dick Halloran. Right? That's the Scatman Crothers character. Okay. Yeah, just let me know your thoughts in general. Are you familiar with this trope? What do you think about it? Is it played out? Is it offensive? Or is it just a tired old trope? Because, it could be both, but it doesn't have to be one. It's not necessarily the other. I feel it's a little played out, personally. Oh, and are there more Stephen King books and stories that use it? I named 4, but as I've said, I've read less than half of what he's put out. So are there even more uses of it from Stephen King? Let me know all of that in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I have. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.